Today's topic is prohibition of insider trading regulation, and particularly UPSI is our subject today. And uh, interestingly, although we as a student or since childhood we have studied that food, clothing, and shelter are the basic necessities, but in government side, stock market is also an essential service which has to continue even if there is a lockdown. And therefore stock market is active, and therefore traders are active, and there are chances that the inside trading can also happen. There was series of relaxations which MCA and SEBI came out with in terms of various submissions and compliances to be done. But when SEBI was asked as to whether there can be any relaxation from the window closure, SEBI very clearly said that no, COVID-19 cannot create a highway for insiders to trade in the shares of the company, and therefore window is closed from 31st of March till maybe 30th of July or 15th of August. I don't know, because for 3 months every company has been enjoying uh, relaxation for with respect to finalization of financial result, and thereafter 30th June first quarter financial result, and therefore maybe longer period the window may remain closed. So this is a very touchy subject. A lot of companies are coming out with various plans of interim dividend buyback, and plans for conserving cash, and therefore it's a very fertile land with respect to UPSI and any insider trading in the shares of the company. Today's context, I am going to just focus only with respect to prohibition of insider trading. I am today going to focus only on UPSI and some examples of UPSI where SEBI or SAT has felt that this particular incidence is UPSI, and therefore, while in possession of that information, if somebody deals in the shares, they are getting penalized. And how it is getting more and more importance, and why it has become very sensitive, I will share some of my learnings. Interestingly, Sunil also mentioned about my involvement in guidance note, and in that guidance note, we had to codify all the SEBI and SAT orders, and me and my team have been studying all SEBI and SAT orders, particularly in the context of LODR and TIT. And those learning, some of those judgments I could compile in today's session. Just before we move on to UPSI, just for everybody, I don't know whether everybody is from company secretarial background. Even if somebody is participating from depositories, from the designated persons background, senior management people, for them, what are the two important principles of prohibition of insider trading? Principle number one is not to share UPSI, not to share information which you have, which is a price sensitive, with anybody unless and until it is legitimate purpose, and there this SDD, that is structured digital database, comes into play. And second principle is when you're in possession of UPSI, not to deal in securities. Sunil also highlighted this point, that it is not just shares but also debentures. And therefore, even if you are working for a company whose equity is not listed and debentures are listed, even then we are regulated by prohibition of insider trading regulation. This is what the law tells us about what is UPSI. Um, very whenever I read PIT regulations, I have been reminded this again and again by regulation and by SEBI and SAT orders, uh, that more than language, principle is utmost important, it's top important. Just look at the definition. It says that it means an information relating to company or its securities, which is not generally available, but which upon becoming available is likely to materially affect the price. And if that information is there, then it is considered as a UPSI, unpublished price sensitive information. In one of the cases, Man Industries Limited, some information was there in possession with senior management, and when they dealt in the shares, and subsequently that confidential information became public, and the price didn't move. And they argued with SEBI that, look, although I bought or I sold the shares when that information was there with me, after that information became public, the price didn't move. SEBI said that whether price moved or not, it's not a question, but whether that is likely to affect the materially the price of the securities is important. And if you feel, and if I feel that it was likely that the price may move because of this information, then it is considered as UPSI. The first in the first line, I have highlighted two important words. That means a company information relating to company or its securities. So one landmark case is Jagran Prakashan case, where promoters of the company decided to sell some shares in the stock market, and company secretary was aware about this decision, and he dealt in the shares along with his spouse. And SEBI had charged him with the penalty. And in his argument, he argued that my lordship, actually the information was not about the company, but about promoter selling his shares in the company. And SEBI said that nothing doing, whatever is likely to affect the price of the company, whether the information is about the company or about the securities. So any increase in supply of securities or decrease in supply of securities, or any big institution coming in the securities market with respect to that particular company shares, anything like that. So information about the company or about the securities, both is considered as UPSI. And obviously they have said that ordinarily, which includes financial results, change in capital structure, merger, demerger, change in key managerial personnel, or any other price sensitive information, which the board of directors have to devise. As per regulation 9 of PIT regulation, the duty is casted on the board and obviously, of course, on the compliance officer. And while doing that, he can take help of regulation 30, which is material information under LODR regulation. He can take that base, or we can carve out our own sensitivity. But what is price sensitive information that board has to devise and board has to decide upon is the duty casted on the board. Earlier that was prescribed by SEBI, but now SEBI has withdrawn its responsibility of identifying UPSI, and it has been casted completely on the company. This is a statutory definition of UPSI. Now we will move to some of the landmark cases and some learnings from those cases. And those learnings actually tell us that there is a very vast canvas of the concept of UPSI, and therefore vast number of people engaged in and around the company would have access to UPSI, and therefore this concept of SDD was introduced. Just before I move on to the next slide with respect to judgment, let me give you a background of why this SDD, Structured Digital Database, was introduced to map UPSI. This was in the context of WhatsApp leak, which was a very famous and popular in SEBI and in our entire stock market and all the intermediaries dealing in the shares of all the companies. WhatsApp leak, that there were some companies whose financial results were floating on some WhatsApp groups without it getting officially disseminated by those companies. And when SEBI tried to investigate as to how this leak of information happened, and then they came to know that the companies do not have a mechanism to track as to which all UPSI companies have and who is sharing this UPSI with whom, that tracking mechanism was absent. And therefore, this HDD concept was introduced. And in this context, now let's look at some important and some interesting cases which are telling us that we need to be very vigilant about UPSI. First case which I'm taking is Bala Reddy case. It's very important case, particularly for the companies who participate in tender process. Now, what happened in this case is, this particular company was the electrical contractor company from Hyderabad, and they participated in one tender, and they were declared as L1. L1 is lowest one. And then finally entering into contract took a while. It took around 1 month or 1.5 months time. And from the time they were declared as L1 till the final contract was awarded to the company, during that period, promoters and his connected people dealt in the shares of the company, and SEBI caught hold of them and levied a penalty of rupees 40 crore. In the argument, 40 crore, my dear friends. The total gain which they had made was 14 crore, 14 crore, and the penalty which was levied on 40 crore. And in that argument, promoters argued that although I was L1, I had not entered into final contract, and therefore you cannot consider it as a UPSI. It was a speculative information, but not a UPSI. And SEBI said that no, the fact that you were L1 and fact that majority of the time L1 wins the contract, therefore it was a UPSI, and you should not have dealt in the shares first, and you should not have shared that information with anybody. Second important case which I'm highlighting is Jubilant Life Science. And in Jubilant Life Science case, there were multiple cases and one order came. And the UPSIs which they had coined, very interesting. It's a pharma company. And at some occasions, when US FDA used to levy sanctions on them, some of the senior management people used to dealt in the shares of the company. When with respect to one of the product which Jubilant Lives was exporting to China, China levied a high anti-dumping duty, and because of which actually Jubilant Life Science was beneficiary as compared to any other Indian company, and this information was not disclosed by the company to the stock exchange initially. And when it came in the newspaper and when stock exchanges asked the company, then company informed about these details to the stock exchange. And during that period, some senior management dealt in the shares. And SEBI said that US FDA sanction is a UPSR. China hiking import duty, anti-dumping duty on the products which you supply to China is an UPSI. So any particular change in tax structure which favors or actually disfavors you, which is going to materially impact your price, all of that is also has also SEBI has considered as UPSI and has levied penalty of 10 lakh rupees. Same Jubilant Life had one subsidiary which was running a hospital, and that hospital was sold for rupees 40 crore, which was less than 1% of the consolidated turnover, but it was identified as one of the verticals in Jubilant Life Space business. And SEBI said that selling an hospital, irrespective of value, although it was an insignificant value in terms of consolidated number, but selling an hospital cannot be considered as non-UPSI. And while in possession of UPSI, if you have dealt in the shares of the company, then it is considered as UPSI. So again, selling asset of a subsidiary of a listed company was also considered as a UPSI for a listed company by SEBI in Jubilant Life Space case. Some more cases on this line: India Bulls Ventures Limited, where one of the non-executive director uh, was part of a committee which was constituted to decide about the fundraising which was going to happen in one of the subsidiaries. So one of the subsidiaries had wanted to raise some funds, and for which a committee was formed in where one of the non-executive director of India Bull Venture was on the committee, and that committee subsequently decided not to raise funds for the subsidiary but to dispose of the subsidiary. And during this period, that non-executive director and her spouse dealt in the shares, and they made some around 69 lakh rupees profit, and the impounding order of around 87 lakh rupees was passed by SEBI. This is very, very interesting. So subsidiaries fundraising or subsidiaries disposal, non-executive director on the committee, that was also considered as UPS. I am sharing some information over and above what we standardly understand as financial result or declaration of dividend or so on and so forth. In VK Call case, this is a little older case. VK Call was an independent director on Ranbaxy, and Ranbaxy had one partnership firm. That partnership firm decided to invest in Orchid Pharma shares. So Ranbaxy is a listed company. VK Call is an independent director of Ranbaxy, and in one partnership firm, Ranbaxy had some partnership stake. That partnership firm decided to acquire shares of Orchid Pharma, another listed company, not takeover of Orchid Pharma, but substantial stake acquisition of Orchid Pharma. And during that period, VK Call bought the shares of Orchid Pharma, and that was also considered as UPSI. So we as a company, we are not only handling UPSI of our own, but sometimes we also handle UPSI of our customers, and people like me or Aksar, or people like if any chartered accountant or a valuer, registered valuer, or IP professionals, all of us handle a lot of UPSI of a client company, and therefore SEBI mandated that not only listed companies but even fiduciaries and SEBI intermediaries need to maintain a tracker of UPSI, and therefore they also need to install SDD in their record. Any company, any entity which handles UPSI of their own or they handle UPSI of somebody else, all of them are now mandated to have SDD and handle that UPSI very, very sensitively. In this VK Call case, a penalty was levied on of 50 lakh rupees on independent director and 10 lakh rupees on his wife because he dealt in the shares which Ranbaxy indirectly was acquiring of Orchid Pharma. Some more cases, this is a very recent case, PC Jeweler case. And this is very, very relevant in today's time because a lot of companies are coming out with a buyback because there is a tax arbitrage for doing buyback as compared to dividend. PC Jeweler had also announced buyback of shares. And after making public announcement, they disclosed to the stock exchange that we are doing a buyback of share. And thereafter, probably because of the covenant from the lender, they approached State Bank of India for taking their permission for doing buyback. And State Bank of India, after spending their time, they refused this buyback proposal of PC Jewelers. And when State Bank of India refused this proposal, during that period, shareholder approval process was going on of PC Jeweler, and PC Jeweler did not inform that SBI has refused their buyback proposal. Probably they were, CFO was trying to convince bank for giving permission, whatever, but they did not inform this to stock exchange. And from that time till actually PC Jeweler withdraw or announce the withdrawal of buyback, some of the close relatives of PC Jeweler family dealt in the shares of PC Jeweler, and they saved a loss of 5 crore rupees and a penalty levied on them by SEBI impounding order again. 8.3 crore rupees penalty was impounding order was passed by SEBI. So what was their fault? The promoters' relatives dealt in the shares when subsequent development with respect to buyback was not announced to public, and it was only with them. So when we are maintaining HDD, we should not only mention, not it will not get closed. HDD's database will not get closed once it goes to public, because whenever there is any subsequent development, that also needs to be tracked, and that subsequent development also needs to be informed to stock exchange, or if that is not informed to stock exchange, at least during that period, uh, it has to be ensured that none of the insiders and none of the DPs deal in the shares, and none of this information is shared with anybody else. Because whenever this kind of situations will happen, my dear friends, they are going to come out very heavily on the compliance department, and they are going to ask us, where is your SDD? And who all were in possession of UPS, and how did you as a compliance officer discharge your duties validly. Let me tell you, in a lot of cases, even company secretary is levied penalty, and few of the cases are appearing in this slide only. For example, in NDTV case, so this was a case where company received a tax demand of rupees 450 crores, and which was significantly higher as compared to the net worth of the company. Board of directors decided to not to disseminate this information to stock exchange. Company secretary probably took that matter to the board, and board in the minutes they had recorded that it will not be shared to the stock exchange because we are going for an appeal and we reasonably believe that we will win the case. But since it was significantly higher in number, just to tell you the number, the net worth was around 350 crore and tax demand was 450 crore. And SEBI said that, why did you hide this information? Why did you not share this information with us? And therefore NDTV was levied a penalty of 1.75 crore for not sharing this information on timely manner. And compliance officer was levied a penalty of 3 lakh rupees for not sharing this information. So these are some cases which I am highlighting where compliance officers are getting penalized now. Yes Bank case. Yes Bank is a bank and highly regulated business, and they used to receive a RAR report, that is a risk assessment report from RBI. And one of the risk assessment reports outcome was disclosed by them to stock exchange, but while disclosing that information, they disclosed some information, then they decided not to disclose some information. So it was not full information which was disclosed. Convenient information was shared and inconvenient information was not shared. And in that case, compliance officer was levied a penalty of 14.5 lakh rupees approximately, and bank was levied a penalty of 51.5 lakh rupees approximately for not disseminating the information appropriately. Under UPSI and under Schedule 1 of PIT regulation, it is not only a duty of a compliance officer and a company to ensure that UPSI is being secretly maintained, and but whenever it reaches to credibility, then it has to be promptly disseminated it has to be disseminated in a complete information, and therefore non-sharing of proper dissemination of UPSI was also levied a penalty in case of Yes Bank. Jagran Prakashan, as I mentioned, promoter dealt in the shares, less than 2% shares, less than 2% of the total shareholding, total paid up capital, he dealt in the shares. And company secretary argued that, my lordship, my SEBI, that the number of shares which promoter sold was even less than 2%, which did not even require disclosure. Under old PIT regulation, disclosure was required when somebody deals in the shares, so 2% shares. SEBI said that yes, it was less than 2% shares, but look at the average volume which was getting traded, And looking at average volume, the number of shares which promoter sold was significantly higher. And therefore, you and your wife dealt in the shares of the company. And therefore, they were levied a penalty of 10 lakh rupees approximately plus 12% interest. In Pantaloon case, corporate restructuring was considered as a, obviously as a UPSI. This reminds me about one more case, which was Satyam case before Satyam fiasco happened. Ramalinga Raju was trying to acquire two companies, and when he came back from a tour, he came back, he met his company compliance officer, Jayaraman, and he announced that he told him that we are going to acquire these two companies and you start the necessary processes. And thereafter, some people dealt in the shares. And SEBI said that why did you not closed window, Mr. Jairam, Mr. Compliance Officer, when you were aware about this UPSI? And at that time, the awareness about closing window was not much. Generally, entire corporate compliance fraternity has been assuming that I have to close window only when about financial result or about declaration of dividend or about public issue or something like that, or follow-on issue or something like that. But it is not just like that. It is any UPSI when compliance officer has reasonable knowledge to believe that either all the designated person or some class of designated persons are possessing UPSI, then he has to ensure that the window is closed. And during this period, he has to obviously ensure that um, he's tracking all the trades with respect to whatever trades are happening from the designated persons or immediate relatives of the from the immediate relatives of the designated person side. And obviously, if he finds anybody trading in the shares, he has to take that matter to audit committee and to the board. Board means Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI. And this particular format of disclosure has also been notified by SEBI. Now let's look at, so we looked at what is UPSI as per SEBI's view. M&A is UPSI. Buyback and any subsequent development is also considered as UPSI. Acquisition of some other listed company shares by you or your affiliate is also considered as UPSI. You know, your subsidiary disposal is considered as UPSI. Subsidiaries fundraising is considered as UPSI. Subsidiary asset disposal is considered as UPSI. Winning tender is considered as UPSI. And therefore, all those people who handle this information, it may be a project head, maybe a R&D head, maybe a finance head, maybe, of course, the top level managing directors, sometimes NEDs who are on the committee members, IDs who are on the committee members who are deciding some sensitive subject, all of them are considered as people who are handling UPSI, and therefore all of their names need to appear in SDD now. And now if tomorrow if there is any news that generally SEBI, what SEBI is doing these days is all the big corporate announcements they track, and before the corporate announcements happen, whoever dealt in the shares of those company or whoever took the position in FNO market, that they try to track, and from there they are trying to come to know how SEBI is tracking all this provision. Let's look at that. Now SEBI has come out with the SEBI informant scheme, as we all know, and to my knowledge, maybe a majority of the cases which I share, there was an informant. There were some informants who shared that information, and that's how SEBI came to know about it. But now SEBI has officially come out with the SEBI informant scheme, where 10% of the penalties levied can be rewarded to the informant, and he has to be given complete protection by the company. And therefore, it's a very, very sensitive subject. One of some of the whistleblower cases we have already seen with respect to Infosys, with respect to Sun Pharma. So many matters we have already seen where whistleblower either complained about some some wrong happening in the company, contemplated, they apprehended and they complained. And what has happened in the Infosys cases, as per the news, Mint news, SEBI has tried to see if there is any position which is held when the whistleblower blowed the whistle, and from the time the whistle was blowed till the time Infosys announced it to the stock exchange. During that period, if somebody has taken advantage of that, SEBI is trying to look at that. And therefore, SEBI informant scheme and whistleblower has a multi-edged sword, which is in the ecosystem, and we have to be very careful. And SEBI is taking use of this. Second is obviously, as I mentioned, all corporate actions and the trades around that SEBI is tracking. volatility in the shares. With few of our clients' cases, what happened is suddenly the share prices started going up, and then SEBI came out with a big questionnaire asking for a lot of data to them as to who all were possessing this information. Change in financial, change in shareholding, in important shareholding structures of any company, that also SEBI is tracking and trying to see. Whenever there is a suspicion, SEBI is trying to see if there is anything like that. Just to highlight one more point in this context of UPSI, is that now under new regulation from 2019 onwards, SEBI has also mandated that company has to adopt a policy whereby any leak of UPSI or suspected leak of UPSI will be investigated by the company, and the report of that will be shared with the board. Board means SEBI again. So when there is any leak of UPSI, and when company has to investigate again, SDD and tracking of this UPSI is going to be very, very useful. And therefore, for that purpose, first of all, we need to know what is considered as UPSI. Now, this is coming directly in front of confronting with the role of media. Media is always interested in finding out something fishy, something which the world doesn't know, and therefore they will keep asking important and questions from to the senior management. And if somebody shares some information and if it appears to the on the newspaper, and if that news is, if that information is considered as UPSI in SDD, then the company will have to conduct an inquiry about that, who shared that UPSI, and all of that are also around this UPSI which SEBI has described. So there is one more point. So we already had non-sharing of UPSI, not trading in the shares while in possession of UPSI. We also had window closure as a standalone non-compliance. We also had a contra trade as a standalone non-compliance. We also had a pre-clearance as a standalone non-compliance. We also have now SDD as a standalone non-compliance if the company does not adopt SDD. If we also have a database maintenance as a standalone non-compliance, which if the company does not maintain a data of designated person. And if there is a standalone non-compliance, if the company does not investigate any leak of UPSI, that is also considered as a standalone non-compliance. And these are around UPSI, and therefore probably Sunil thought that let's first discuss what is UPSI so that other compliances we can understand better. SEBI has anyway mandated all the companies that you have to highlight who are the directors and CEOs and two levels below CEO, and their names and PAN numbers have to be intimated to the depository within 2 days of the change. Now, I don't know how many companies have aligned their HR departments. Let me share with you, senior management under Companies Act is one level below CEO, but here it is two level below CEO. And two level below CEO, whoever, any new recruitment or any retirement or termination or layoff or anything like that, all of that information needs to be tracked, and any change in them needs to be informed to depositories within 2 days of anything happening around it. I must share with you that there is a chat where you can start raising your questions, and after this session is over, maybe we can take up few of the questions and try to answer them to the best of our capacity. I'm moving on to further on this penalty, and I'm on the subject of how SEBI is tracking and how SEBI has been levying penalties. Let's look at this data. The minimum penalty is 10 lakh. Maximum penalty is 25 crore or 3 times of the penalty. In Bala Reddy case, the total gain made by them was 14 crore approximately, and the penalty levies was 40 crores. And they argued that this is the too much of penalty. And SEBI said that SAT said, they went to SAT. SAT said that, okay, you have been already offered a discount by SEBI of 2 crore, 14 3s are 42, but you have been levied penalty of 40 crore, and that's it. I cannot give you anything more than that. There was one more case of Nishab Desai where VP and CS so of FTIL, and he dealt in some shares of the company and he made some profit of 17,000 rupees. And SEBI levied a penalty of 12 lakh on him. And subsequently, when he appealed to SAT, the penalty was reduced to 2 lakh rupees. And after this amendment, the minimum penalty, which was changed by SEBI, has become now 10 lakh. So, had this Nishab Desai case of 17,000 rupees gain had happened now, then the total penalty would have been at least 10 lakh rupees and not even 2 lakh rupees. And look at the statistics, the number of cases which are getting taken up by SEBI and which are completed by SEBI. The number is continuously rising in, and in the year 19, the total number of cases which SEBI took up for investigation was around 70. And looking at informant scheme and the new tracking mechanism which SEBI has installed, institutionalized in last couple of years, there is going to be high rise in these regulations, and irrespective of lockdown or no lockdown, if there is a UPSI and if somebody has dealt in the shares, there is going to be this challenge. In one of the cases, I have thought of sharing this Sriram Mutual Fund case is very relevant, is that there was an argument that particular compliance, non-compliance, SEBI levied a penalty and company argued that there is no mens rea. So if the company compliance officer has not closed window or has not adopted SDD or has not developed a mechanism to investigate and to leak, can he argue that there is no mens rea? Supreme Court has laid down that mens rea is not essential ingredient for any punitive action, any penalty provision getting imposed for the non-compliance. Non-compliance is a non-compliance, and a penalty will be levied irrespective of whether your intention was good or bad. And therefore, a mechanism to protect UPSI and all the mechanisms which all the compliance which compliance officer has to do around UPSI, those are standalone compliances. And even if the company secretary or the compliance officer or VP has not dealt in the shares, for example, one last case which I am going to share with you is the case of that WhatsApp leak where the SEBI order came just 2 days back, where few of the individuals who were working in antique stock broking then, Shruti Vora and Neeraj Agarwal, they shared the financial results of Ambuja Cement and Bajaj Auto on a WhatsApp group. And because of that, this information it got forwarded in several other WhatsApp groups of stock SEBI brokers and investors, and a lot of traction happened in those company shares before the financial results were announced by these two companies. And around that, this investigation happened, and SEBI could catch these two individuals who were the last link, whom they could catch that these were the two people who had shared this information on WhatsApp. And they argued that we have not dealt in the shares, but you shared UPSI. They also argued that this is not a UPSI. This was a tip. I keep receiving so many information, and I passed it on casually. I pass on a lot of other information also like that whenever I get this information. And SEBI said you are passing on an information, and incidentally, the same financial, so they shared PAT and EBITDA details on WhatsApp group, and the company announced numbers on a similar line. And SEBI said that this is a UPSI. This is not a gossip, and this is not a tip. Whether it is organized, unorganized, legitimate, illegitimate, doesn't matter. This is a UPSI. Therefore, this UPSI is a very huge concept. The last bullet which I am sharing with you is about that Infosys matter where somebody blowed a whistle about some expenses getting booked or not booked. And SEBI has, as per Mint report, Mint is a newspaper, and October 24th, they reported that SEBI is looking at some huge short positions which somebody had taken. Now, who had taken that short position, whether they were insiders, whether they were DPs or relatives of DPs or the financial consultants or secretarial auditors or statutory auditors or merchant bankers, or who were they that SEBI is trying to find out. I think I am just ending towards my short discussion around UPSI. Some of my learnings are we require a lot of propagation about this handling of UPSI among stakeholders, because in first place, what I have observed when I deal with all our clients and listed company secretaries, management has been asking compliance officer that you look after this UPSI, you identify UPSI, you enter into the data, or you outsource it to registrar and transfer agent. Now, this is not right, because this is a confidential information and you can share it only when there is a need to know. If there is no need to know, you can't share it with any outsider. In fact, if there is an R&D department like Sunil mentioned, and in R&D department there is some innovation which is happening, why will he share that information with compliance officer even? That information has to be keyed in by the person who is generating the UPSI, not even the compliance officer, because the information should be shared on need to know basis, and it cannot be shared without that. if you are in doubt as to whether this particular information is UPSI or not, first of all, abstain from trading. Now, this we need to propagate amongst all our stakeholder, internal and external. When in doubt, abstain from trading. And when in doubt, a record in SDD. Very, very important. Because if SEBI comes for investigation, yes, Sunil, you trying to say something?
Yeah, one quick thing, when you said things about this R&D thing,
Yeah.
the system does not require disclosure of the UPSI to the system. It
Yeah.
requires the disclosure that UPSI has been created.
That's it.
I don't need to know whether they have developed a better tire, which will now give me 50% more fuel efficiency. I don't need to know this. In fact, the system does not need to know this. There is no reason for the system to know it. The system merely chooses to, or is required to record that UPSI has been created by the R&D and it is being shared with who?
Correct. And what is its PAN number?
Correct.
So as pointed out rightly by Sunil, that it's not even required to be shared by the system. Then why should it be shared with any outsider for entering in SDD? Obviously, this is not a right practice. And therefore, when in doubt, abstain from trading. When in doubt, record in SDD. These are some simple principles which we can propagate amongst our all stakeholders. Just to share with you, there have been several cases where the persons who were aware about this UPSI, they have dealt in through their in-laws. And all those in-laws are also now have paid the penalties, and those individuals have also paid the penalty. And therefore, now what SEBI wants is whenever there is any, whenever they have doubt about insider trading happening, this handling of UPSI, who all were in possession of UPSI, and then in this digital world, to find out whom all you met, whom all you interacted, is not very difficult at all. It is very, very transparent if the secrecy veil is lifted through the telecommunications systems, and the emails, your WhatsApps, all your mobiles, laptops are confiscated by SEBI whenever there is any investigation, and therefore this SDD preservation will safeguard compliance officer that I have done my duty rightly in terms of handling UPSI and in terms of propagating about UPSI in my ecosystem. This is one law which cannot be operated obviously, and all my friends are in secretarial and compliance division who have joined the call. They will all agree, and some of you might have implemented this in a similar fashion, that compliance officer cannot be made responsible for entering UPSI into STD. No one can afford penalty because we looked at Bala Reddy case, 14 crore gain and 40 crore penalty. And we looked at PC Jeweler case where no gain made, he saved a loss of 5 crore and paid a penalty of 8 crore. So fantastic. And there was last case which I shared where 17,000 gain and that poor company secretary paid a penalty of, even after going to SAT, he had to pay a penalty of 2 lakh rupees, which cannot be less than 10 lakh rupees now. And the last point is beware of informant scheme, that if there is no, if we have not been handling UPSI carefully, and if some informant shares this information with SEBI or investigating agency, then we can be in trouble. I think that's it from my side as far as UPSI is concerned. And I think we can take up some questions now.
Sure.
If you have any questions, you can raise those questions in a chat window, and we will be happy to answer those questions.
At the bottom of the screen, there is that chat icon. You can click on that and enter your queries, and we will be happy to. In fact, Makarand more than me will be happy to answer the queries.
So Saurabh has raised a question that you have shared so many case laws. Are those recent judgments? So as I told you in my slide, I had shared that around 19 orders were passed alone. Uh, just look at SEBI and SAT site, and every quarter there are some 10, 15 orders which are getting delivered by SEBI. So many judgments are getting delivered. Some of the cases like Jairama case was very old matter, but Ambuja and that the two individuals who were penalized was yesterday's matter. So many of these questions, many of these matters are recent matters. Majority are recent matters. Any other question? You are free to ask.
Any new product patterns developed is a UPSI? This is from TVS Sri Chakra. Or any new technology?
if it is obviously if it is going to impact your performance, it is a UPSI. And many companies ask me that what should be the threshold. Sometimes I suggest all corporates that over and above the sensitivity which cannot be measured, there are some matters which cannot be measured in terms of the threshold numbers, but some matters can be measured in threshold numbers. So some companies have chosen to put up a threshold of 5% of a turnover, asset, or net worth. Any financial item which is of this value will be considered as UPSI. Any technology which is going to enhance my productivity by 20%, 10%, it will be considered as UPSI by me. Some thresholds can be put up by you for your own people's understanding. But whenever you have doubt whether, now there is a continuous improvement in technology every day, but not every technological improvement can be UPSI. Now that judgment needs to be discharged by the person who is actually generating that technology.
That is, I think, the answer. Yeah, he's looking for this answer.
Yeah.
So how do what any new product pattern developed is a UPSI, or any new technology alone is UPSI? Now, okay, so you got it. So he's also appreciated that. You answered it exactly correct. So you have to take a judgment call.
Do you have any reference of international cases? Many international cases, and we have been reading a lot in newspaper, and you would have also observed that there was a reporting which was saying that Indians based in USA are getting penalized more as far as PIT regulations are concerned, and US sends insiders behind bar, whereas we have still 3 times of the penalty. So uh, we are not that tough, but in terms of financial number, we are very tough. One more case which I would like to share is faithless servant case, which was with respect to, I think, JP Morgan or Morgan's Chase. I'm not sure. One of the JP Morgan probably, where one of the insider violated some provisions with respect to insider trading, and the company was levied penalty, and company recovered that penalty from the person who had actually defaulted. And this was the famous case which is called faithless servant. So if and there are cases in India also which said that window was not closed by the company, and company argued that why are you levying penalty on me? You should levy the penalty on compliance officer, and SEBI accepted it and levied the penalty on compliance officer. So a lot of clues probably SEBI obviously is also taking from foreign cases which we just
It's a
discussed.
gentleman by name Mr. P. Vishwanathan. He's
Oh yes,
asking you a question.
yeah. And the earlier question was, I think, who had asked the earlier question?
That was by Mr. Srinivasan.
That was by Mr. Srinivasan. And about international, I think Mathan Babu had asked this question. Okay, this question: the virtual trading window closed by 20th working day before the quarter end. Okay, but we saw huge support to market by promoter buying during the 2 weeks before 31st March 2020. What is your view? So if the window was closed, then obviously no insiders and no DPs are supposed to deal in the shares. Frankly speaking, I had asked, whenever my client asked me, I had suggested them that the prices were getting slashed down drastically, and promoters also wanted to consolidate their shares. And I suggested them that if your closing window as per the statutory requirement of 31st March, then let promoter buy only before 30th March and not on 31st March. Now, if a company has closed, say on 10th of March, if the window is closed, then from 10th March till 31st March, actually promoter or if the person is having UPSI cannot buy or sell shares. There have been several cases where it has been argued that although the window was closed, but I did not had a UPSI. And SEBI majority of the time has said that whether you had UPSI or whether you didn't had UPSI is a separate subject. So if you have UPSI and if you deal in the shares, you will be levied a penalty of regulation 4. Whether you have UPSI or whether you don't have UPSI, when the window is closed and if you deal in shares, separate penalty will be levied irrespective of whether there is an insider trading or not. Similar stand SEBI had also taken with respect to contra trade. There was a contra trade or there was a pre-clearance which was not taken, and somebody dealt in the shares more in the volume, and then he argued that although I did not took prior pre-clearance, but I did not had UPSI. SEBI said that pre-clearance, window closure, and contra trade are standalone compliances, and if you whether you have UPSI or not, you will be levied a penalty. So this is my learning from SEBI orders or SAT orders is my submission.
Makran, can I ask you one more question, which is a sort of a corollary? What he's saying is that the virtual trading window closes by 20 working days.
Yeah.
Is that what is the meaning of virtual trading window?
Actually, my reading is trading window is always virtual. There is no physical window which gets closed. It's
Naturally,
always virtual. But there is also a reference of word virtual in schedule, where they say that a virtual trading window has to be closed by the compliance officer when compliance officer has reasonable cause to believe that some people are holding UPSI. Some companies, I believe, when I read this question, I believe that some companies are closing window not on 31st of March, but on 10th or 15th of March to be on a safer side. Because last 10-15 days, anyway, there is a clarity to the top management about as to what is going to be my turnover and profit. And as a good gesture and good practice, many companies go beyond what is the minimum mandate from SEBI, which is 31st March. So they may go beyond. And if they have closed the window, then they have closed the window, and nobody inside designated person are not supposed to, or their immediate relatives are not supposed to deal in the shares. There is one more question. I am not able to read the
Mr.
name.
Srinivasan from TVS.
Okay.
Whether pre-clearance is the discretion of the compliance.
Of course, yes. Pre-clearance is a discretion of the compliance officer, and now compliance officer has a minimum verification which compliance officer has to do. First of all, in old days, compliance officer used to take a declaration from a person who is seeking pre-clearance as to you do not possess a UPSI. Now, over and above that, compliance officer also necessarily need to verify SDD. That is his name appearing in SDD. Because if his name is appearing in SDD, and even if he gives a declaration that I do not hold UPSI, then compliance officer has reasonable cause to believe that he possesses UPSI, and therefore his declaration given cannot be relied upon, and therefore he cannot be given permission. Some compliance officers have been asking me that my SDD is not regularly updated. I know. Now, can I ask? And because SDD is not updated in the sense the UPSI is appearing, but whether, so for example, if finance team head or M&A team head, he might not have his entire team's name in SDD. When he shared that information with his teammates, actually he should share. Right. But if his name is not shared and somebody from his team approaches me for pre-clearance, is it a good idea that at least ask his department head that this is a UPSI which is appearing in your name, whether your colleague is aware about this UPSI, and if yes, then compliance officer should reject because he has reasonable cause to believe that he possesses UPSI, and therefore he cannot be allowing that, he cannot be giving that pre-clearance. Whether pre-clearance is discretionary, I think we have answered. Any threshold limit is specified as per the Act. No, the Act has not prescribed any threshold limit. These are the 5% or 10% which I am mentioning. These are emerging as an industry practice. Is there any requirement of disclosing non-compliance of PIT code? Yes. If yes, is it compulsory or discretionary? It is compulsory. It is compulsory. It was always compulsory. I think para 13 of Schedule B lays down very clearly that any violation of the code and the regulation has to be informed to stock exchange. And there was a case around it. I think Manmohan Shetty case. This was an AdLabs case where the director of the company had dealt when the window was closed, and company did not inform this to stock exchange, and the penalty was levied on him, and the company also. And at that time, he argued that this is a violation of code. Window closure is not coming from the regulation; it is coming from the code. and therefore it is not a violation of regulation, and therefore I don't have to inform to stock exchange. But SEBI said that violation of code is as good as violation of regulation. Now this we have learned in Dr. Chandratay, my guru. He has written this also in his book, where he discusses about what is the standing of subordinated legislation, like schedules, rules, which are subordinate to the principal law. It's very clear that subordinate law is equal to the main law, so long as it is not contradictory to the main law, and therefore it is as good as the law, and window closure is as good as a violation of regulation, and compliance officers have to take it to audit committee and have to report to stock exchange, and company secretaries will be levied penalty by SEBI for this pardoning with any non-compliance with respect to code. Only one exception is with respect to contra trade, where code itself provides that in contra trade, if compliance officer has reasonable cause to believe that although there is a contra trade but there is no violation of regulation, then he can pardon it. And if he has pardoned it, then he has reasonable knowledge or reasonable cause to believe that there is no violation of regulation, and therefore it need not be informed. But other compliance requirements of code are violation of regulation, and it has to be informed to stock exchange. And now SEBI has come out with a separate e-form to submit all those violations of code to SEBI. Yes, I think there is one more question. No, it's you.
I saw people saying, I mean, people showing up their faces,
Yeah.
and I figured that they were waiting to let you finish and then they'll ask.
Okay.
So I've just posted this, that instead of waiting for you to stop or waiting for an opportunity to speak, they can simply key in their query. But is there anybody else who now is desirous of posting a query or talking about it? Mr. Vishwanathan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm on the line. 1 minute. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You know what? The audio
Yes.
is great. So you may want to key in also if you don't mind, but clearly speak right now.
No, I have keyed in that question.
What is the question?
That earlier virtual trading window.
Okay.
Now, actually, my point was inferring from a trading plan. The trade plan, it is not actual trading for the period between 20th trading day prior to the last day of the financial period. So this, I thought this will also prevent the insiders from trading during this period. But if you want to close the trading window 20 working days before, virtually there will be throughout the year, what will be left will be about 50-60 working days for the promoters or somebody to save the market by buying.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Actually, trading window this year, almost anyway, half of the year had gone because 45 days per quarter. So that means 6 months were anyway gone. And this year, probably 1 quarter might go plus 45 days 3 times. So maybe 3/4 of the year will be window closed, and only 1/3 or 1/4 of the period the window may be open. And this is
actually many insiders and promoters were trying to save the market in the 2 weeks because the market fell so much. They thought the other continuing investors should not suffer. So they came in.
Mithali Kristachari has a question, Makaran.
Somebody came in to rescue the price. Somebody also came in to consolidate their holding. SEBI would look at not in a holy manner. SEBI would say that you have come for consolidated your holding and you are taking advantage of the situation.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vishwanathan. Miss Mithali has got a question, Makaran, if you can answer.
Yeah. Have there been any case where penalty has been waived off? Yes. There has been a case where penalty has been waived off. If you want, I can share that. It was a Gammon India case, where Gammon's managing director, he was possessing a UPS ad. They were going to terminate a couple of MOUs which they had entered into. And he was going to terminate those MOUs, and he was authorized to terminate those MOUs. And this information was with him. It was not informed to stock exchange. The company, as we know, was in trouble, and the company was also going through a CDR process. And in the CDR process, what happened is it was agreed between the promoter and the lender that he will pump in X number of money, X value of money in the company as a part of CDR as a quasi equity, not the capital, as a quasi equity. That means a unsecured loan which promoter will bring in. And he was in a process of mobilizing all his assets to pump in the money. So he disposed of some properties, and in that process he also disposed of some shares of Gammon, and all of that money was put in Gammon India to rescue Gammon. While in possession of UPSI, he sold the shares. So SEBI levied a penalty, and he went and he argued that I did this for CDR, for bailing company out, and although I was holding UPSI, but I did not dealt in the shares to make money, but to bail company out, and SEBI completely discharged him. SAT completely discharged him from any penalty. It was an impounding order which was passed earlier, and then he was completely rescued. Even in that company secretary case, where 12 lakh penalty was reduced to 2 lakh penalty, that is also one case. There is one more case, Pantaloon case. I will, which I had mentioned that there was a UPSI. Pantaloon was doing a demerger, and one of the very top management person, he dealt in the shares, and he could establish that he was trading using a technology platform. And while placing an order, by mistake, he selected Pantaloon, but actually he wanted to buy GMR. So immediately after placing an order on technology platform, he immediately realized that he did a mistake. And with immediately in a fraction of within 3 minutes, as per the log, he cancelled that. That means he placed an opposite order for when he had purchased Pantaloon, he disposed of Pantaloon, and immediately he purchased GMR. While buying and selling, he incurred a loss incidentally in Pantaloon. And he also could demonstrate that he was taking position in GMR consistently before that and even after that. And therefore, SEBI accepted his point that probably it was an error, that he by mistake punched Pantaloon, but actually it was meant for GMR. So there are cases where SEBI has accepted, but these are exceptions. These are exceptions. The thumb rule is that if the insider has traded, so you have to be whiter than white. Only then SEBI will pardon. Otherwise, if there is an out, for example, in Pantaloon case, when he sold, if he would have made a profit, then I don't know whether SEBI had taken this view. If he had not booked GMR immediately, I don't know whether SEBI would have accepted his argument that it was a mistake. It won't be.
His wife.
So there are cases, but very rare.
Any more questions? Kausalya is coming up, but she is not asking a question. Kausalya, are you Kausalya from TCS?
Hello.
Hello, Kausalya. Please speak. Hello, Kausalya. Please speak. No problem.
The program is very well.
Sorry?
Not audible.
You are not very clearly audible.
Or you can type it out.
You can probably type out the query also, because that might be simpler for everybody. I'm sure it will help others to understand. Oh, R. Kausalya, you are from TCS, if I'm not wrong.
From TVS Recheck.
So please ask the question. If you don't mind, if you can type it or type the question in, that would be nice.
I think she was audible now.
She's, her voice is going in and out.
Okay. So UPSI, when in doubt, disclose. When in doubt, abstain. When in doubt, record. In ICICI Bank case, very classic case where Bank of Rajasthan merger happened, and the definitive agreement was entered into by ICICI Bank and Bank of Rajasthan and promoter at 4 a.m. in the morning. And but the board meeting had not happened, and board meeting happened throughout the day. And ICICI Bank informed to stock exchange in the evening 8 p.m. And during the day, I think there was a lot of ups and downs in the stock price. And poor compliance officer had to pay the penalty of not informing to stock exchange. Not maybe in my submission is that had he tracked all the trades and informed it to stock exchange, maybe he might have been able to prove his innocence. But poor company secretary had to. Practical life, there are a lot of situations where there is a mandate that we should not disclose to stock exchange for a very genuine reason, maybe. But compliance as officer, we have to be aware that ultimately we are getting responsible by SEBI personally.
This is that May 2015 case, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Whether pre-clearance is the discretion of compliance officer, I think Saurabh Makran did answer in the affirmative.
Yeah.
He did clearly answer that. So no worries.
With a guidance on reviewing STD and asking CVF.
Yes.
All law answers are always guarded answers.
Yeah. Notwithstanding the heretofore and all of that stuff. Yeah. But I think there is clarity on whatever it is that you said in terms of the fact that it is the judgment of the person creating the UPSI and the judgment of the CEO in the case where questions are being asked about pre-clearance that will matter. It is going to be touchy-feely, and a lot of people are going to have to take calls which are judgment calls, and commonsensical approaches will probably help rather than convoluted legal logic. That's my contention. I'm not a court of law, so obviously till things get tested like that, either at SEBI itself or in SAT, thereafter if things go beyond that to the courts, then the courts. But typically, law is supposed to be strict and we have to follow it strictly.
Actually, monitoring and maintaining UPSI and disclosure of UPSIs to stock exchange is a very tight rope on which all compliance officers have to walk, because there is a lot of information which maybe law requires us to disseminate, but there is a commercial sensitivity around it, and therefore we cannot disclose it till it reaches to some reasonable certainty, because there are other competing players who can spoil your game, and therefore we don't want to disclose. But at that time, we have to build a case around it, that why I did not disclose, why I disclosed later. And we have to continuously monitor that whoever are in position of UPSI, they need to be sensitized that you cannot deal in the shares, and that UPSI, who all are aware about this UPSI, has to be there in the SDD.
So let me just restate what you just said in a manner, in a sort of a manner of clarification. What you are saying is that, let us say company X has tradable shares and they are planning to acquire company Y, whether listed or otherwise, and the discussions are on, but there is no finality to the issue yet. At such a time, this is still qualifying as a UPSI, but it does not require the company to disclose to the public. It merely requires the company to track movement of that UPSI within its DPs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Whenever you enter into definitive agreement, it has to be informed to stock exchange. That is ICICI's learning.
Very fine. Correct.
They said that you entered into a definitive agreement and you should have informed. The argument was that although there was a definitive agreement, but by board had not approved it. So it was subject to board approval. SEBI said that you should have informed earlier because there was a definitive agreement. And now if you want to terminate or cancel that becomes a subsequent announcement.
If an authorized person is signing a definitive agreement, then it's a definitive agreement.
Yeah. For example, in PC Jeweler case, they announced buyback. They approached SBI. SBI rejected it. And compliance, the CFO was probably trying to convince SBI, which is very logical in our day-to-day life. It happens that you may try to approach, convince them back, take a different letter from them. And therefore, I did not inform to stock exchange. But during that period, connected people dead in the shares and they saved 5 crore rupees. That's a problem.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are at 4:53. Unless there are any other specific queries to answer, shall I call this meeting to a halt?
Sunil, do you want to mention about next meetings?
Yes, of course I do. Yes. So the next conference, the next webinar will be held exactly a week later at 3:30 on next Friday, which is the 8th of May. right? 8th of May, 3:30 to 5 again. And the subject of that webinar will be the role of the CO, which is the compliance officer, the role of the DPs, and the roles of the board and the audit committee.